part of my job today and tomorrow, part of the TU group obviously, is to impart my experience, or what little knowledge I have and my experiences as a trade unionist and at various levels of the trade union movement, to try and help and give you some kind of leadership into where I think we need to go and what we need to do. And my section today is about where we think the trade union movement is, and it's more of me throwing up discussion points really, because we've had some great contributions there already about where we think the trade union movement is, and hats off to you, sir, about that. But hopefully I'll pose a few more questions to you. But one of the things I'm doing now, of course, because those of you who are staying tomorrow, and about being active in the trade unions, I'm doing that session as well, and you can see that I'm standing up. And we do what trade unions do, is shout at you. And sometimes use industrial language, but I'll try not to do that. But at the end of the day, we're just working people, and this is how we communicate. And this is I think the side of the movement that the Labour Party has been detached from. But let's concentrate on trade unions, because I've got a specific role and a specific timetable. But it's kind of analysing where the trade unions are, and I suppose, to put it in a kind of nutshell, we're the trade union movement is a shadow of its former self, you know, not just in numbers, but I think industrially, I think we lost a lot of that weight we did have back in the 70s, and I'm going to go through a few reasons about that now. But our power has been neutered, and I think that you know, we have forgotten, and I put myself in this bracket, but I think we haven't defended the rights that we did have. We let them go by the wayside, and we haven't defended ourselves, nor has our political party, the Labour Party. But we also got to recognise that, you know, in this kind of era when militant trade union leaders put their head above the parapet, the whole world, the whole establishment, and even people within our own party, the Labour Party attacked them, the trade union movement attacked them, and especially in the media. So those, you know, and I kind of refer back to very recent history, because I think deeper history is coming on later, but in the last 20 years you think about the awkward squad that were probably not awkward, but just actually trying to represent their members a lot more better, were vilified, you know, from without and within. So what you think you have is a trade union movement that, whilst it does, I think, its day job relatively well, I think it's lost, you know, its power and its authority and its relationship with working people, and we need to try and get that back somehow. But so I'll try and kind of assess where, you know, where we are and why that's happened. And now the membership stats, I'm going to put a few stats, but at the height of the trade union membership was like 13,000. I dig these out the other day. The government provides these, not anywhere else, but 13,212,000 members back in 1979. Any guesses on where we are now?
Five.
Well, it was 6.9 in 2019, which was the lowest ever. I think we've creeped back up to 6.8 million. Bearing in mind the population has grown, you know, where have all those memberships gone, and why is that? And is that a factor of why our power's gone? And I would suggest it is. With the economy, we've had the deindustrialisation of areas of the country, yeah, so communities that are left behind, and I'm not just pointing out coal, but steel, major heavy industry is gone because of globalisation maybe, and you know that there's cheaper imports coming out from across the world, like Nikki, coming in from across the world, undermining those core industries. So those types of jobs are gone, but work has changed as well, hasn't it? You know, work within, you know, it's not at a factory anymore. It's not in those major infrastructures. It's almost piecemeal work. People working from home, putting in bits and trinkets on eBay. You got the Uberification, if that's a word, of society, and the 0 hours contracts, and that flexibility that they've put into the market separates what would have been traditional workforces into individuals. And it's very difficult to organise it in there. So that's probably a reason as well. It's not, well, it's worth mentioning as well, the European Union, and you know, if you recognise it as a capitalist power, super bloc, trading power, which I do, and the legislation that they put in around that about the freedom movement of workers, so it's no coincidence then that there's a shortage of workers at the moment because we've lost that European input. But what we have, what that did do was undermine the terms and conditions within our country. You couldn't organise effectively. Yeah, so trying to recruit those people from Europe into trade unions would have been the best thing to do, but I don't think that was done effectively. So maybe that's undermined the power of our trade unions as well. But maybe it's also about how the trade unions have been organised. We've lost, I think, the solidarity we used to have. And I mean inter-union, trade union solidarity. I think we've lost that. Solidarity action and secondary action is gone because it's illegal. But whilst you have pockets of it, there's not that kind of joined-up thinking or strategy anymore from the trade unions. The politicisation of the members isn't there. There's no politics discussed because we're probably scared to discuss it. And we haven't told the members that actually the only reason they are on a good salary and they have protections at work and a decent salary is because trade unions have fought for it, not because the management gave it them. And maybe we're forgetting that we haven't politicised them in that way. Maybe it's the way that the craft unions and the super unions are organised. I'm a member of a craft union and we organise, I think, effectively. We have a high density and the people we represent, they're only the people we represent and we know their jobs. But our super unions then, have they become less, sensitive to their members' plights, and can they represent their members properly? Is that a problem for us? I would suggest it might be. The TUC, so of the Trade Unions Congress, and I'm trying to look at the clock, I'm nearly there.
No, you don't.
But, all right.
You're fine.
But when we look at the TUC, there's 47 trade unions and affiliated societies, or societies affiliated to the TUC, but only 12 of those are affiliated to the Labour Party. So we've lost that connection, I think, the political connection with all these workers' representative groups, in society. You've got, whatever it is, I'm trying to do the mathematics, but 35 that are still out there without any kind of political direction whatsoever. And the TUC itself, it isn't like the media are standing outside the TUC conference when they make an announcement anymore. They're not important anymore because they toe the line. And when you look at kind of some of the big things that have happened recently, sometimes they've had to side with the government and the establishment. And if you think about Brexit and all the rest of it, they didn't stand with the majority of people who wanted to vote out. Their workers. They actually stood with the government at the time and stood on platforms with the CBI and organisations like that. So maybe that is where we are. Trade unions have been under attack politically there. If you remember back to 2014, I think it was under Ed Miliband where they changed the affiliation process, and it was all to do to undermine the trade union, the college, the vote in the Labour Party, and they've done the affiliates programme to try and undermine that. It actually worked the other way, but you have this kind of pressure on trade unions from within its own party, from the government, and all these other factors like organisation and how it connects with its membership. So I think we have the structures still, and if you look at membership numbers in comparison with Europe, I think someone said to me if you get below 25% membership or 20% of membership, as in of the workforce of the country, if you fall below that it's normally terminal. I think we're averaging around that now, so there's something we need to do. We need to kind of build that membership, but I think the structure's there. So to kind of summarise on where I think we are, we have the structures, but there is an awful lot work to do. There's an awful lot of pressure on us from all these factors, and whilst our power is there at the moment, we've certainly got the time to rebuild that movement, and hopefully over the next day or two, or the next 2 days, we'll give you some ideas on how you might be able to do that.